We are anonymous. No faces. No flags. No permission slips. Elon Musk is now officially too powerful to ignore, too rich to control, and too influential to silence. And that's exactly why Democrats are furious tonight. Senator Elizabeth Warren appeared in front of cameras and declared that a typical American family would have to work for millions of years to match his fortune. She called it evidence of a rigged economy. She demanded wealth taxes and argued that no person should possess that much money. But before we react with outrage, let's do something Washington almost never does. Let's think. The story starts in 2002. A man who made money on the internet decided he wanted to build rockets. Not buy a rocket company. Build rockets. He wanted to compete with Boeing. He wanted to compete with Lockheed Martin. He wanted to compete with Russia, China, Europe, and governments that had spent decades mastering spaceflight. For more than 50 years, the space industry had only moved in one direction. Costs went up. Every rocket became more expensive than the one before it. The idea of a private startup entering that world seemed ridiculous. Even experts thought the man had lost his mind. When asked about his odds of success, Elon Musk did not pretend. He did not speak like a motivational guru. He said he had perhaps a 10% chance, a 90% chance of losing everything, a 90% chance of ending up broke. And then reality hit. The first launch exploded. The second launch exploded. The third launch exploded. Imagine that. 3 failures. 3 disasters. Most people would have quit. Most investors would have walked away. Most politicians would have held a press conference and blamed someone else. Musk nearly lost everything. The 4th launch was the last money he had. If it failed, it was over. No more rockets. No more company. No more dream. Then something extraordinary happened. It worked. And one stubborn man changed an entire industry. SpaceX became the first private company to send a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit. The first private company to send a spacecraft to the International Space Station. The first private company to perform feats that only national governments had previously accomplished. Then came the breakthrough that the experts had declared impossible. A rocket came back down from space. It descended under control and landed on its legs. The first time the world saw it, people thought it looked like science fiction. But it was real. Why does that matter? Because for decades, humanity treated rockets like disposable products. Musk changed that. Reusable rockets collapsed launch costs. They did not lower costs. They shattered them. They reset the entire industry. Communication satellites became cheaper to launch. Scientific missions became cheaper. Access to space became dramatically more affordable. And when American astronauts needed transportation to orbit, the United States no longer had to purchase seats from Russia. American rockets. American crews. American launches. One company had restored capabilities that a superpower had lost. But the story does not end in space. Back on Earth, the same man took on another impossible mission. Electric vehicles. At one time, the idea of a mass-market electric car was treated like a joke. Legacy car makers had more than a century of experience. Billions of dollars. Armies of engineers. Armies of lobbyists. Most of them believed electric vehicles would never scale. Some produced cars that failed spectacularly. Then Tesla arrived. And suddenly the entire auto industry was forced to move, kicking and screaming. Today, nearly every major manufacturer is investing in electric vehicles. Why? Because one company forced the future to arrive. And then Elon Musk did something that almost no greedy monopolist would ever do. He opened his patents. He announced that Tesla would not sue anyone using its technology in good faith. Think about that. Corporations guard patents like treasure. Companies lock formulas in vaults. Businesses spend fortunes protecting intellectual property. But Tesla opened the doors. The technology was made available because Musk claimed that accelerating sustainable transportation mattered more than squeezing every possible dollar from competitors. You can agree or disagree with him. But a truly greedy man does not simply give away technology that could strengthen his monopoly. Then came another transformation. Connectivity. Through satellite networks, people living in remote regions, war zones, and places controlled by authoritarian governments suddenly gained access to communication. People who had been isolated gained a connection to the world. When disasters struck, communication systems could be restored. When regimes attempted to silence populations, alternative pathways appeared. Then came social media. Musk purchased one of the world's largest digital town squares. The decision sparked outrage. Supporters claimed he expanded free expression. Critics accused him of enabling misinformation. The arguments continue, but one fact remains. He pushed in the direction of more speech rather than less speech. And then came the event that made Democrats furious. The headline they did not want to discuss. According to this story, SpaceX went public. Elon Musk became a trillionaire, but he was not the only person who got rich. Thousands of SpaceX employees became millionaires. Thousands. People whose names you will never know. Engineers, technicians, programmers, mechanics, and maybe a welder. Imagine him. 20 years ago he had a stable union job, safe, predictable. Then a strange entrepreneur with crazy ideas approached him. The pay would be lower. The hours would be longer. The company might collapse. But there would be stock options. Pieces of a company that most experts believed would literally explode. His family thought he was insane. Why gamble on a dream? Why leave safety? Yet he did. He welded rocket parts. He missed dinners. He worked nights. He watched rockets explode. Then he came back the next morning and welded another one. Again, and again, and again. Because he believed. And one Friday morning he woke up a millionaire. That is one version of capitalism working exactly as intended. The person who risks everything and succeeds receives extraordinary rewards. The people who believed early and sacrificed alongside him also benefit. The reward is enormous because the risk was enormous. Many people in Washington have never taken risks like that. Many have spent entire careers in politics, yet they want to decide how risk and reward should be distributed. This does not mean capitalism is perfect. It is not. This is where Elizabeth Warren is half right. There is a problem, but it is not the $1 trillion. The real problem begins when wealthy people stop competing in markets and start competing in Washington. The problem begins when corporations discover it is easier to purchase influence than to defeat competitors. The problem begins when industries help write the regulations that govern them. When money buys rules. When power buys protection. When politicians and corporate elites become partners. That is corruption. Not innovation. Not risk-taking. Not entrepreneurship. But when the game is rigged through political influence, ordinary people lose. And this is where our political class, including Donald Trump, and many of his opponents deserve scrutiny. Trump has frequently portrayed himself as an enemy of elites, while simultaneously surrounding himself with wealthy donors, lobbyists, and power brokers. Democrats accuse Republicans of favoring billionaires, while Republicans accuse Democrats of controlling bureaucracies and regulations. The reality is that both parties have often participated in a system where money and political influence intertwine. Anonymous does not worship billionaires. Anonymous does not worship politicians. We question both. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive corruption. We do not forget those who manipulate power. Expect us.